Right, let's take a look at the markets. Asian markets were mixed today. This as investors assess the global economic outlook given the Trump administration's move on trade tariffs. Uncertainty has been the name of the game since Donald Trump took office, with players ever guessing as to what's next. While some of the planned measures have been delayed for negotiations, market observers say huge levies on exports to the US could result in major financial market disruptions. The Nikkei share average ended up 0.063%. The Hang Seng Index declined by 0.018%, while the Shanghai Composite Index ended the session 0.3% in the black. US markets lacked direction on Friday, with the Dow ending in the red and the Nasdaq ending in the black. January retail sales data registered a much better than expected. Well, actually, they plunged, so that wasn't very positive for consumer data. The Dow Jones Industrial Average ended 0.4%. and in the red, and the S&P 500 ended flat, down 0.01%, while the Nasdaq Composite Index closed up 0.41%. Right, in terms of the local market, we see that the all-share index is trading in negative territory. It's down 0.3%. On the currency front, we see that the rand is trading at 18.44 against the US dollar, 19.33 vis-a-vis the euro, and 23.22 against the British pound. On the commodities front, gold is trading at $2,901 an ounce, platinum at $987 an ounce, while Brent crude oil is trading at $75.06. Let's unpack the markets with Gary Booysen. He's a portfolio manager at Rand Swiss. Thanks very much, Gary, for joining us. So, uncertainty has been the order of the day for a while now. What's driving markets at the beginning of this week?
That's a mixed bag, and I think some traders out of the market as well. So we've got the US markets closed this evening for President's Day. And at the same time, we have obviously senior officials. We've got Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, meeting with his counterpart from Russia and Saudi Arabia, and talking about a potential deal between Russia and the Ukraine. And if the peace talks do advance, this really could disrupt things in a big way in terms of commodity flows, but it should put serious downward pressure on commodity prices. So maybe one of the reasons that we're seeing the resource index down almost 2.5% today. At the same time, as you said in the opening, we've got to balance that against global tariffs. Although we did have very strong Japanese GDP numbers out this morning, 2.8% higher. That helped to lift their market. It was well ahead of expectations. So a lot of moving parts today. But I think with some traders out of the market, maybe everyone just taking a bit of a wait and see approach.
Yeah, while we wait and see, of course, it's a big week here in South Africa with the tabling of the budget on Wednesday. Finance Minister has to walk that tightrope yet again. How's the rand faring in the run-up to it, although we know that lots of different factors do influence the rand, and what are you expecting from it?
Yeah, so the rand has been, incredibly strong, I think, given the global uncertainty that we've seen. So we're trading 18.44 against the US dollar. Part of that is a little bit of dollar weakness, but even if we look against the euro and the pound, the rand is strengthening into this budget. And it's interesting because obviously this will be tabled on Wednesday, and I think there's so much that the government of national unity can do, and so much our finance minister can present to really alleviate some of the fears. Because if you look at in the South African context, I think the expectations are very low for South Africans. So we just need to sort of match those expectations, and I think you could see a significant improvement. I mean, we want to see things like measurable ways to contain our debt, and I think also tangible measures to prevent wasted spending. No reduction definitely in NPA funding. That's one of the crucial things. Stamp out the corruption, and I think we could have a fairly optimistic budget, and that could see potentially further rand strength on the back of it.
We wait and see. And let's look at a company, Anglo American Platinum. They released their annual results for the 12 months ended December 2024. They reported EBITDA down 19%, but they were able to give shareholders a 3 rand a share, a final dividend, as well as a special dividend of 59 rand a share. How did that share react to that information, and what are your general thoughts about Amplats, especially as it's about to come out of the Anglo-American stable?
Yeah, so the share reacted very positively to the update. So in a market that is falling, where we've got the likes of Sibanye-Stillwater down 3.5%, you've got all the gold miners down heavily today. You're talking over 4%. We have Amplats up, just over 1%. So the market definitely liking the announcement. You obviously mentioned the big decline in EBITDA, but a lot of that decline came from the realized rand PGM price. So that declined by 13%. So a lot of that just feeling the impact. I think what investors are looking at and liking about this is that they have been right-sizing the business, and we've got around 12 billion rands worth of annual cost savings. Their target was 10 billion rands. So making aggressive cuts and really getting the business into a much better shape. Their all-in sustaining cost at the moment, however, is down 13%, which means they are containing their costs, but it's still sitting at $986 per platinum ounce, and that's pretty much where we've got the platinum price sitting at the moment. So very big difference between the gold miners that have that huge difference between the all-in sustaining costs and the actual spot price of the metal. So unfortunately, I think Amplats still has some way to go in terms of cost cutting. Ahead of the spin out, as you can imagine, these things are incredibly complex and take a long time to roll out. So Anglo American, their parent, will be obviously seeking shareholder approval on the 30th of April, and obviously has made the usual commitments that they won't be selling down their shares aggressively or anything like that, even though you would imagine that it will create some sort of stock overhang for Amplats as well.
Yeah, but even as a company right sizes itself, as you describe Amplats, but if it continues to face the headwinds of low prices, which could get worse if we start seeing trade wars, then that becomes very difficult, right?
No, absolutely. And all a business like Amplats can do is respond to the conditions on the ground. So I think one of the big challenges around the PGM space specifically is that it is in transition. And it's something that you read in so many of the platinum mining updates around how this is cyclical lows for the platinum price. And, there's a deficit in the market and we expect it to recover. But the fact is that, the demand for platinum is primarily made up of autocatalytic converters. And if we are seeing a huge change towards battery-powered electric vehicles, we need to find something that will replace the demand, or these companies are going to have to scale back dramatically because the price per PGM ounce will fall. So yes, there are real structural concerns around the platinum market in general, but Amplats is responding to something that is largely out of their control. If the customers aren't there, you've got to shrink the business.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Gary, for your time and insights. As always, Gary Booysen is a portfolio manager at Rand Swiss.